Here's why you should never get married.
Men and women can both have sex, but what happens after? Two completely different biological stories.
Men understand that there's a relationship between how successful they are.
Men have always ruled the world. That's just the natural order of things.
I just realized the huge difference between men and women.
What if the biggest problem in modern dating isn't men or women, but the fact that nobody wants to admit uncomfortable truths anymore? For years, society has argued endlessly about gender dynamics, attraction, relationships, and expectations. But now, more people are starting to look at biology, psychology, and real-world behavior patterns to explain why modern relationships feel so unstable. And whether people like it or not, some of these conversations are becoming impossible to ignore. Stay with us till the end of this video, because what you're about to hear might completely challenge the way you look at modern dating, attraction, money, and relationships.
Men and women can both have sex, but what happens after? Two completely different biological stories. Men are built for volume, simple biology, roughly 300 million new sperm a day. And evolution wired him to spread his seed and protect the species, right? Sex for a man is a dopamine flash and a testosterone spike, a quick hit with no emotional residue. That's why a guy can sleep with somebody and literally feel nothing after, because his brain resets almost instantly. He doesn't bond through sex. He bonds through loyalty, respect, mission, and peace. Women, on the other hand, are built for depth. She has one egg, one shot. When she has sex, her body floods with oxytocin, which is the same hormone that bonds her to her baby. Her body literally says, this man is safe. Attach. Every new partner is another bond formed, then broken. Do it enough times and those oxytocin receptors turn dull and they start to fade, and pair bonding gets harder. That's not judgment. That is just chemistry. Men thrive on variety. Women pay for it. Different wiring, different consequences. Women are the gatekeepers of sex. Men are the gatekeepers of commitment. Remember that. So men, you're wired to scatter, but kings don't waste their seed, right? Discipline beats dopamine every time. So pick a woman who brings you peace and multiplies your purpose. The rest is just noise. And women, your power isn't matching his body count. It's holding your standard until a man proves he's worthy of your depth. So select like your lineage depends on it, because it does. Play against biology and you will lose every time. Play with it and you will build a legacy. This is not anybody's opinion. It's biology, psychology, and the truth. And nature doesn't care about your feelings.
Honestly, that point was explained well. Promiscuity doesn't really benefit anyone long-term. Like any addiction, the temporary pleasure can cost far more than people realize, especially when respect, emotional stability, and trust are traded away for short-term validation. Think about this for a second.
Here's why you should never get married. In 2023, guys, unfortunately for us men, the marriage laws are not in our favor. Look at famous celebrities like Tyrese, Dr. Dre, Jeff Bezos, guys who have made it with plenty of money and suffered greatly through a divorce. Guys, 50% of my money I cannot afford to give away through a divorce. I refuse to give away through a divorce. And I think until marriage laws change, there's no incentive for men to get married. And if a woman truly loves you, she doesn't need you to marry her through the state. You can take care of her, provide for her, but if there's a greater risk for you to do this, then you should not do it. So as a man, 2023, until the marriage laws change, don't you dare sign them papers and marry a woman.
If a man owns a house, earns around $70K, $90K a year, has excellent credit, and built his life with discipline, what kind of partner do you think he's realistically looking for? Someone equally responsible and stable, or someone living completely opposite values? Compatibility matters mentally, financially, and emotionally.
Men have always ruled the world. That's just the natural order of things. Welcome to Dumb Shit People Say I Can Disprove in just under a minute. It's not uncommon to hear some men push the narrative that men have always been the dominant gender, but that couldn't be more wrong. For majority of human history, we lived in hunter-gatherer societies, which were, for the most part, egalitarian. And as anthropological research shows, there were no strictly defined hierarchies of power or social status. What's more, it's not only men who did the hunting as it was previously believed. Both men and women hunted and both men and women gathered. And they largely lived together as equals. Now, the shift from these egalitarian societies to more patriarchal ones happened only around 6 to 10,000 years ago as a result of the agricultural revolution. And this is also where all sorts of inequalities started to emerge. So if you consider that we've been hunter-gatherers for around 200,000 years and men have only ruled this world for around 10,000, it's equality that's the norm and patriarchy the exception.
A lot of men today feel like their value comes from what they build and protect. Men are often expected to provide strength, leadership, protection, humor, resilience, and stability all at once. Whether people agree or disagree, many men take pride in being dependable under pressure.
Study done where men and women were hooked up to brain scanners as they watched people play a game. They got to see whether the people playing the game were playing fairly or whether they were cheating at the game. And the people playing were connected to electric shock machines. So electric shocks would go into these people as they were playing, and they would measure the brains of the men and women watching. So every time a player that was playing fairly got an electric shock, both men and women's empathy centers lit up. Whenever an electric shock would go into a person that was cheating, women's empathy centers lit up just the same as with the fair playing person, but men's empathy centers did not light up at all. Actually, their pleasure center lit up.
Some guys are even becoming more cautious about marriage itself. More conversations are happening around legal protection, finances, and long-term risk. To many men, it's not about avoiding love, it's about protecting years of hard work and avoiding destructive outcomes if things fall apart later.
Want to hate men.
Really? Then why do some women make it their entire personality? Oh, that's right. They're desperate for validation from other women, and they really have nothing else better to say but to disparage men on the internet.
We have to hate men.
Don't speak for me, or more sensible women that actually understand that hating an entire group of people is actually a bad thing to do. But in someone's opinion, why do some women have to hate men?
Because you guys literally make us miserable on every single level of society.
Some of you ladies are so miserable out there, and I use the word ladies rather loosely. Why don't you go off and make your own society of just women? Oh, wait. But then what would you do when you have nothing to complain about? Oh, that's right. You would do what a lot of women usually do and turn on each other.
One of the most important lessons in life is understanding that money equals time. Every dollar someone earns represents hours of energy, stress, sacrifice, and effort. So when someone feels entitled to another person's money without appreciation, it can feel like they're treating that person's life and time as disposable.
Financial celibacy, it's the new thing that these young men are focusing on when it comes to dating. And as Unc, I just want to say I'm proud of y'all. We always hear women say, my body, my choice. Rightfully so. But as a man, you should be able to say, my wallet, my choice. Side note, you should also care about your body as a man. Don't just go around and sleep with anybody. Have respect for yourself as well. Now back to what I was saying. Your money's a part of your value. As a man, you had to get up and go earn that money. Get to know the woman that you're talking to before you decide to spend money on her. A lot of women hate to have conversations with you before you take them on a date. And it's not that they're worried about whether or not they're going to like you. They're worried about whether or not you're going to like them when you get to know them. Get to know her for who she is, beyond just what she looks like. Because sometimes that's the trick that gets you caught up. You're so caught up in how good she looks that you don't even take the time to get to know her as a person to see if you like her or not.
What's interesting is that truly wealthy people often don't live recklessly. Most people who build long-term wealth are careful, disciplined, and intentional with spending. Ironically, though, flashy spending habits are what usually get the most attention socially.
Men understand that there's a relationship between how successful they are and how attractive they are to women. And part of what motivates them is the game of that competition. You might say, well, women go after wealth, but I think that's nonsense. And I think that's also belied by the relevant evolutionary biology theory, because what it shows, and tell me if I've got this wrong, is that women use wealth as a marker for attractiveness because they use wealth as a marker for competence. And what they're after is the ability to generate wealth and to share it and to be generous with it. It has to be both productivity and generosity. And a decent marker for the capacity to generate wealth is wealth.
At the same time, a lot of people push back against the idea that money should define relationships at all. Wealth alone doesn't determine character, loyalty, emotional intelligence, or whether someone will actually make a good partner in the long run.
We talk about how guys are very dependent on timing and girls are just like care about if it's the right person. Like, I just feel like it's so true. I've heard that so much, but I feel like for guys it's like, okay, like if it doesn't make sense right now, it just doesn't make sense, and then when it is the right timing, they're like, I'll date ya, I'll marry ya, why not? But then with girls, it's like, oh my gosh, you are a rare commodity. I've been praying for these traits. I'll make it happen. I'm not gonna come by you again. You know what I'm saying? So let me know if you have come across that, because it should be a study. Maybe I'll study that when I go to grad school.
That's where modern dating becomes complicated. Some people prioritize security, others prioritize attraction, status, emotions, lifestyle, or chemistry. And when those priorities don't align, frustration starts building on both sides.
As a woman, I'm here to tell you that it does not take a man 6 months to figure out if he wants you to be his girlfriend. It takes a man literally probably like the 3rd date to find out if he really wants something serious with you or not. The most it should take is probably 3 months for a guy to figure that out. Because someone who really wants you, they're gonna snatch you up. They're gonna snatch you up real quick to take you off the market. They're gonna be like, she's the one, she needs to be my girlfriend. I need to cuff her right now. If a guy is not giving that energy, then he just doesn't like you that much. I get it, for some people, the talking phase, they prefer to go through the talking phase up until 6 months and not 3, because they think 3 is too soon. Whatever, I get it. For the title as a girlfriend, I feel like it should not take more than 3 months for a guy to figure that out. And if he still hasn't figured it out, then he's probably confused about you. Obviously, you will find out through the actions. Say you go on the first date, you set your boundaries, and then you tell him like, hey, I don't want to do physical intimacy like so quickly, like I want to give it time. If he makes a big deal about that, he throws a fit, he doesn't like it, his energy changes, then you know he was there for only one thing. And if he actually waits and respects you and your boundaries, then you will know he wants to pursue you furthermore, possibly to a girlfriend, hopefully. Always make sure to have boundaries.
Social media has only amplified the disconnect. Everyone sees luxury lifestyles, unrealistic standards, relationship debates, and constant comparison. Over time, people start expecting perfection instead of partnership.
I just realized a huge difference between men and women, and that is that women can be right and just be right. She can just stand by it. But a man, if he's right, he needs to figure out a way how to be right without hurting her feelings.
The reality is, biology, environment, upbringing, personal experience, and culture all influence behavior. Oversimplifying everything into men bad or women bad only creates more division and confusion.
I had a not all men argument with a girl, and I need your opinion on who's right or wrong. The conversation started with her saying it's very normal for her to meet a man at his apartment on a first meet. I told her that you should be careful because men are dangerous. You never know. If you're going to meet someone for a first time, you should probably meet them in a public place. Then she proceeded to roll her eyes. I can never talk about men with you because you just hate all men because you're a lesbian. She said, did you know not all men are bad? And I said, hold on, did you just use the not all men argument? Do you know how flawed that is? She said, you don't like men, so you don't understand. She said, you would meet a girl at her place on a first meet, so what's wrong with me meeting a man at his place on a first meet? And I said, you can't possibly compare the two. Men are statistically more violent than women. And then she said, if I'm gonna meet a man at his place, obviously I know that there are risks, but there's risk with everything. When you get into a car or when you go outside, there's always risk. And I'm willing to incur that risk. What are you gonna do? Not go outside? But I said, if you're going to a man's place and you've never met this man before, you're going to his place, you should be vigilant. I'm just looking out for you. She proceeds to say, you only say that because you're a lesbian. By the way, this is the same girl that said that I can't tell if a man is attractive because I'm a lesbian. Do people think that lesbians are some extraterrestrial being? I think any sane person would agree with me. It would be dangerous to meet a man for the first time at his apartment. I think that men would agree. And I think a lot of straight girls would agree too. As I was trying to explain to her why her argument of not all men is a fallacy, she shut me down, she called me annoying, and she said, I don't want to talk to you anymore. Not everything is that deep. And I told her, I never said all men. She said, I don't care what you think because obviously you're not going to these men's places. You're not going to fuck them. so whatever I do is none of your business. I said, I was just trying to look out for you. Obviously, you can do whatever you want. She said, I don't care about your perspective or your opinion, and I don't think that we should see each other anymore. And I said, why is it that every time we get into a disagreement, you shut down and you don't even want to try to fix it? I was just trying to explain my point of view. You don't even want to hear me out. I said, whose perspective and opinions do you care about? She said, I really only care about my perspective and opinion and my close friends. She said, when my close friends and I get into an argument, I will make the effort to fix it. And then I replied, so you don't think that I'm worth the effort? There was a silence, and this is when I started getting emotional. It's just wild to me that this whole huge argument got blown out of proportion, and it derived from me just trying to look out for her. And then it snowballed into her basically saying because of my sexual identity, my opinion and perspective is less valid. All she could keep repeating throughout the entire night was that not all men are bad, and because you're a lesbian, you can't see that.
At the end of the day, this conversation isn't really about winning arguments online. It's about awareness. The better people understand human nature, incentives, emotions, and compatibility, the better chance they have at building relationships that are actually healthy, realistic, and lasting.
Men stopped playing by the rules, and now everyone's freaking out. Let's break down why silence has become the loudest move.